This is CBN NewsWatch.
And thank you so much for joining us on this Thursday, July 15, 2021. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, the Democrats' big spending plans, looking to spend trillions of dollars, but they need to get all members of their party on board, plus concerns their plans will add to the huge national debt. Islamic Sharia law coming to the United States, possibly already here in a divorce case in Texas.
When this American judge relegates her case to be interpreted and judged by Sharia law, she's essentially condemning her.
We're going to bring you a look at the implications of this case, then turn to Israel, a historic find from the Old Testament Second Temple of the Lord.
It was a building for the elite of the city, for the city councilors, for the rulers, a meeting place of them, a place where they could host their important guests.
We'll show you what archaeologists in Israel found and what it tells us about biblical history, and how one megachurch pastor uses modern technology to send an image of himself around the world preaching the gospel message by hologram. All those stories and more ahead in today's edition of CBN Newswatch. I want to begin this half hour with Democrats on Capitol Hill trying to figure out how to pass two companion pieces of legislation for their spending plans. The measures are coming in two different bills, and they cover much of what President Biden outlined in his first $6 trillion budget proposal. CBN White House correspondent Eric Phillips has more on how entitlements in one of these bills could drive the nation into dangerous debt.
The entitlements are found in the budget bill Democrats just settled on Tuesday. Bear in mind that unlike with the bipartisan infrastructure bill, Democrats can use reconciliation to push the social piece through the Senate without the help of Republicans, as long as the party remains united on the cost.
We're going to get this done.
President Biden on Capitol Hill Wednesday to rally support for the $3.5 trillion budget reconciliation plan. It includes things like free universal pre-K, 2 free years of community college, home care for the elderly, and climate change. All items Democrats did not get in the $1.2 trillion bipartisan physical infrastructure bill that focuses mostly on needs like bridges and highways. Virginia Senator Mark Warner has worked on both bills.
I'm going to do my best to try to convince people that this is the moment when we need to make the kind of investment in childcare, in preschool, in dealing with the challenges around the climate.
Warner says financing for the so-called social infrastructure piece would come mainly through increased taxes on the rich. Economic experts differ on whether that would work.
If the Biden administration were able to essentially push along some tax increases that would pay for it, then at least you can say, that is not adding primarily to debt and deficits. And so I would say that alone is a positive development.
The president claims that the plan is fully paid for by his tax increases on upper income individuals. But when you strip away all of the gimmicks that are in his budget, you find that the plan is underfunded over the next 10 years by about $1 trillion. That is, the plan will add about $1 trillion to the national debt.
Outside of tax increases, Warner says there are other funding sources.
Every Treasury Secretary, Democrat or Republican, says if we simply enforce our existing tax laws, it's the so-called tax gap where people aren't paying their taxes that are due. If we do that in a fair way, there's literally, the current IRS commissioner appointed by President Trump said there's $1 trillion. Now, I'm not sure there's $1 trillion, but there's a lot of money there.
An investment that some say could actually save the country money in the long run.
When we're talking about infrastructure, there is a cost to making those improvements and repairs, but there's also a huge cost to failing to do it. And then one could perhaps rightly ask the question, can the same things be said of the social aspects of this agenda?
Kogan sees a problem in that entitlements may not be going to those who really need them most.
We estimate that about 40% of all of the entitlement benefits under the Biden family's plan will end up going to individuals that are in the upper half of the income distribution.
Lawmakers are working feverishly on both bills at the same time, realizing that while separate, they are inextricably bound. Both could hit the Senate floor for debate within the next several days. Eric Phillips, CBN News.
Democrats in Washington expect journalists to, quote, be on their side. That is according to a prominent White House reporter. Fox News reports the reporter made the remark anonymously to journalist Julia Ioffe for her story on the dramatic change in the way the media covers the Biden administration compared to the Trump White House. The well-known White House reporter told Ioffe, quote, Democrats in general have a much thinner skin. This is not unique to Trump, but Republicans never expect a fair shake. So if you cover them fairly, you can have a good working relationship with them. Democrats de facto expect you to be on their side and are horrified when you hold them to account as you would any other administration. Former President George W. Bush criticized President Biden's withdrawal from Afghanistan, saying, quote, I think the consequences are going to be unbelievably bad. President Bush made the remarks in an interview with the German broadcaster Wednesday. The withdrawal of U.S. and NATO troops is now nearing completion. Taliban fighters have been surging through district after district, taking control of large parts of the country. Bush said that he fears women and young girls in Afghanistan will suffer unspeakable harm. The U.S. military is moving to make artificial intelligence a central part of its plans for the future. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, speaking this week at a technology summit in Washington, said AI could strengthen America's technological advantage over its international rivals. And he singled out one country in particular.
China's leaders have made clear that they intend to be globally dominant in AI by the year 2030. And Beijing already talks about using AI for a range of missions from surveillance to cyber attacks to autonomous weapons. And in the AI realm, as in many others, we understand that China is our pacing challenge. And we're going to compete to win, but we're going to do it the right way.
Austin emphasized the U.S. will keep its commitment to the laws of war and principles of democracy. A legal battle over abortion in Texas. Pro-choice advocates in Texas have filed a lawsuit seeking to block a new state law. The law they're targeting bans abortion after 6 weeks of pregnancy. It also allows Texans to sue anyone who helps a woman get an abortion. Successful challenges could bring someone as much as $10,000. Planned Parenthood and the ACLU are among those bringing the suit. They say the law is unconstitutional and will subject abortion providers to endless lawsuits and shut down clinics. The Federal Reserve Board is considering setting up its own digital currency. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell told Congress Wednesday the Fed's report on a central bank digital currency will come in September. CoinDesk reports Powell said the report will look at the risks and benefits of a digital currency. The idea began following the growing popularity of the online digital currency Bitcoin, which has been gaining users over the last several years. China is already moving to its own digital currency, and the European Union is looking at one as well. In a medical first, researchers have harnessed the brain waves of a paralyzed man who can't speak and turned what he wanted to say into sentences on a computer screen. It will take years of more research, but the study marks an important step toward restoring communication for people who can't talk because of an injury or illness. Dr. David Moses explained how the process works.
Lay these sensors along the surface of the brain, because it turns out the outer layer of your brain, the cortex, controls a lot of, really important human behavior, such as speech. And so by placing sensors, electrical sensors, on the surface of the brain, and the area that normally controls signals sent to the vocal tract, so the part of your brain that controls your vocal tract for people who can speak normally, we can actually pick up those electrical signals, record that activity, and digitize them and send them to our computer for further processing.
The next steps in developing the process will include finding ways to improve the device's speed, accuracy, and vocabulary size, but it could eventually offer hope to many, as of now, who can't speak. Coming up, Islamic Sharia law. In the United States, we're going to explain how it's being used in a divorce case in Texas against the wife's wishes. We're going to have the story for you when we come back.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
This is CBN Newswatch.
Thanks for joining us.
Watch breaking news, exclusive stories and programs, credible news reporting.
We show you what's happening in the world and how you can pray about it.
This is CBN Newswatch, because truth matters. Weekdays at 5 on the CBN News Channel.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
The Millsburg Falls man coming.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes, too. And so much more! Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Your news channel. Your shows. The stories you care about. Anytime you want. Anywhere you want. Download the CBN News app today.
Welcome back to CBN Newswatch. Turning now to take a look at Islamic Sharia law in the United States. In the Lone Star State, a Texas district court judge recently ordered Miriam Ayad's divorce case be sent to an Islamic panel. Ayad claimed she was misled into signing a prenuptial agreement that mandated Sharia mediation. She's appealing the ruling, saying it violates her constitutional rights as a U.S. citizen. On this week's episode of The Global Lane, Islamic historian and analyst Raymond Ibrahim suggests Republican Judge Andrea Thompson's ruling sets a shocking precedent for America.
Miriam Ayad, she says she didn't know that what she was signing when her husband required her to sign a prenup. So I'm assuming you believe her because of the way many women are treated under Islam.
Yeah, I actually would be inclined to. I'd be inclined to believe her more than, in other circumstances and in other situations for the reasons that you mentioned, because women are habitually misused and easily and often lied to. In fact, Muhammad himself, in one of the canonical hadiths, or basically his sayings and words and deeds, said that lying is permissible in 3 circumstances, and one of them is to your wife. So that's actually part of the Islamic worldview. So I believe that it makes sense that, she got probably a big document. And I think the actual argument is that she thought it was a duplicate that she was signing. So she didn't maybe see the stipulation about Sharia. So that's logical, and I would be inclined to believe her.
And, I don't recall any previous case in the USA where a judge sent a dispute between Muslims to an Islamic tribunal, especially in Texas of all places. So does this set a precedent, Ray? What are the consequences for people here in the United States?
Well, it does set a precedent. It's actually shocking, and but it's one in a piece with what we're seeing everywhere, which is this large retreat from the Judeo-Christian mores and worldview, cultural values, which are enshrined in the Constitution, and the people who are most charged with guarding it and protecting it, judges, here they are now retreating from it, abandoning it, throwing it to the bus in favor of anything and everything other than that. I think you'd agree with me, we see that in a lot of different circumstances and situations outside of this particular one, where anyone who's not part of the Western Christian, Judeo-Christian framework is his ways, his cultural norms take precedence, including here on U.S. soil. And, to underscore this, the audience should understand what Sharia law is. Sharia is really the antithesis of, the Western worldview. It's draconian. It's fundamentally based on the words and teachings of the Quran, which are believed to be from Allah, and the words and teachings of Muhammad, the Prophet of Islam. And, if you look at his words and teachings as well as the Quran, they are basically things that are very 7th century, definitely pre-Enlightenment type stuff. So the Quran and Muhammad permit the sexual enslavement, the concubinage of women, infidels during jihads. A woman's testimony is half that of a man, which really comes into play in this particular case, because if this Maryam woman is judged by a Sharia tribunal, her words are already are cut in half as far as their value because she's a woman. Muhammad said most of the denizens of hell are females. So there's the long and short of it in this case is there's a very misogynistic strain in Sharia law, and so when this American judge relegates her case to be interpreted and judged by Sharia law, she's essentially condemning her.
And a lot of liberals are saying, where's equity? We're fighting for equity in America. Well, where's the equity in that if a woman's testimony is only half that of a man's? So how likely is it, do you think, Raymond, that we'll eventually see a Sharia court established here in the USA?
Well, there's elements of that, not necessarily in the USA, but in Western nations, in the UK, you have elements of that already, and so it wouldn't be shocking to see that also coming eventually into the United States. And this particular case is in many ways such a sort of precedent. Again, it favors Sharia law.
And they say it has no effect on non-Muslims, but I'm assuming you know otherwise. Tell us about that.
Well, sure. Again, Sharia law, which is Islamic law, is just as it's inherently misogynistic, it's also inherently anti-infidel. And so if you're infidel just means a non-Muslim. So if you're a non-Muslim and in any way, shape, or form, you also are being judged somehow under Sharia law. You also are at the short end of the stick.
Okay, author, Islam historian, and Middle East analyst Raymond Ibrahim. Thank you, Raymond, for sharing your time and insights with us.
Thanks very much, Gary. Take care.
And for other important stories and trends you need to know about, be sure to tune into the Global Lane. You can find it on the CBN News Channel tonight at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. You can also find it on the CBN News app. Still ahead, a remarkable discovery in Israel near the Western Wall. Archaeologists have uncovered 2 chambers from Old Testament Israel's Second Temple. That temple was still standing during the time of Jesus, and soon the public will be able to see. We're going to bring you the story from Jerusalem right after this.
When I came to Regent University, it's like the world opened up. I felt like I needed to advance my career and go back to school. Regent was a perfect fit for me. The Regent professors are world class. You are equipped. The focus of the faculty is on each individual student, whether it's online or in person. You become a part of Regent's family. You carry with you not just the content and the knowledge, but the confidence to understand that we can be significant in the world.
Regent University. Follow your path.
Nigerian Christians
in Iran are routinely arrested.
Catholic Christians continue to suffer.
In times of trial and affliction, you need to know the truth.
One of the fastest growing Christian populations in the world.
Join Wendy Griffith and George Thomas for Christian World News.
Young people are the ones who are open to the gospel.
Powerful stories of suffering and hope that affect all Christians.
Saturday night at 6 on the CBN News Channel.
Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, Explore effective remedies for sleep apnea and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
Archaeologists in Israel have uncovered 2 chambers in the tunnels near Jerusalem's Western Wall from the Second Temple, built during the Old Testament period and was still standing during the time of Jesus. The scriptures are part of a new route opening soon to be open to the public, and it takes visitors back to ancient days. Chris Mitchell brings us the story now. He's in Jerusalem.
The discoveries are the highlight of a new route through the Western Wall tunnels that sheds light on Jewish life in Jerusalem during the time of Jesus.
So it's unbelievable to see this new excavation here. Maybe 15 years ago when I started guiding here, I was standing above us and saying, you know, underneath the arch, there's something. So now we are inside that something.
Johanna Bisroor from the Western Wall Heritage Foundation said the new route will open in a few months. VIPs were invited this day for a preview.
And we have a beautiful complex from the Second Temple period, maybe one of the most beautiful next to the Western Wall. You can see ritual bath, beautiful columns.
The discovery began here more than 100 years ago, when British archaeologist Charles Warren climbed through a hole into this room. Now archaeologists have uncovered 2 more chambers.
And when we saw this room, which was the first thing to be revealed in the new excavations, we were excited because we realized what was not known then, that we are actually in the parallel room of the Hasmonean or Herodian Hall that was already known since Warren's time, since the 19th century. This is one big building.
The discovery of these rooms, less than 100 feet away from the Temple Mount, adds another layer of understanding to Second Temple times 2,000 years ago.
It was a building for the elite of the city, for the city councillors, for the rulers, a meeting place of them, a place where they could host their important guests just before climbing with them up to the Temple Mount.
It's unlikely that Jesus would have been a guest here.
If Jesus was a guest of the city councillors of Jerusalem at that time, he could. And the building was a place to host the elite, so who knows? I'm not so sure he was considered to be such an honor, but who knows? Who knows? Everything is possible.
IAA Excavation Director Shlomit Wexler-Bodalak said the only other building decorated like this one in Jerusalem at the time was the Temple Mount itself. And there's more, an indoor fountain and reservoir connecting the 2 chambers.
Here you see the capitals. They are still preserved. In the center of each capital, there is a hole. In this hole, there is a lead pipe that is inserted, where the water would come out. This is a fountain that was within a very magnificent building, so possibly they could control the flow of water. When there were guests and they wanted to impress them, they opened and the water would have flowed. When there was no guest, they closed.
At some point, this room was repurposed as a huge mikveh or ritual bath, maybe the largest in Jerusalem. Archaeologists say that could have been done shortly before the temple was destroyed and the Jewish people scattered in 70 A.D.
2 weeks before the 9th of Av, the Hebrew month of Av, which is the day of the destruction of the Second Temple, for us to reveal that today. And maybe let's learn from the past and just learn something for the future. That's something very moving for us.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, the Western Wall Tunnels, Jerusalem.
Coming up, beam me up to preach the gospel. How one well-known megachurch pastor used hologram technology to project his image across the world to deliver a biblical message. We're going to bring you a look at that when we come back. Please stay with us.
Christians around the world are standing with the Israelis. But why? In CBN's free magazine, Friends of Israel, you'll discover why Christians are supporting the Jewish state, how Israel is fulfilling prophecy as a light to the nations, and ways you can pray for the people of Israel. Israel needs the support of friends like you. Call now or go to CBN.com to get your free copy of Friends of Israel.
Heavenly Father, we do thank you for the work of your Spirit, Lord God, with this movement of getting the Bible,
yes,
Lord, into public schools.
watch The Prayer Link. Tuesday morning at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
And finally, this half hour, beaming himself in from one part of the globe to another, Pastor Samuel Rodriguez is preaching via hologram without booking a ticket or hopping on a plane. The California-based megachurch pastor appeared on stage at a City Impact church in New Zealand.
What if the enemy is attempting to prevent the greatest spiritual awakening this world has ever experienced?
A diehard Trekkie, Pastor Rodriguez said he is inspired to harness technology, innovation, and science within the confines of our amazing faith to change the world with the gospel of Jesus Christ. Time now for your Thursday Thankful. Hope you'll join me in this prayer of gratitude. Father, thank you for saying no. I'm grateful you kept me away from things I thought I wanted. You always know what is best for me. With that word, I encourage you to make today a thankful Thursday. That is a wrap for this edition of CBN News Watch. You can always find more of our news programs on the CBN News Channel. You can find them there at any time, as well as online at cbnnews.com. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today or any day. You can email us at that address right there at the bottom of your screen, newswatch@cbn.com. And of course, you can always reach out and touch us on Twitter, Facebook, as well as Instagram. Again, make it a thankful Thursday. We'll see you right back here, same time tomorrow. Goodbye and God bless.